There's a saying that goes a little something like this. If you need something done and done well, just ask a busy woman. I'm a busy woman, but our guest has me beat. It is none other than Orange County Clerk of the Courts, Tiffany Moore Russell. We're welcoming her, and we're just letting you know that if you want to share this information, you can do so through Facebook. And we also ask that you join us on our YouTube channel as well as on Spotify. This lady has made history in so many ways. She's a native of Orlando, Florida, elected in 2006 to the Orange County Commission seat to represent District 6. And at that time, she was the youngest to serve in that capacity. And I remember that time, and it was just like it was yesterday. She's making history again now as the first African-American female clerk of the court elected in Florida right here, and the first African-American in Orange County. The title for that she's had since 2014. Now, Tiffany is trained as an attorney, so she understands the law, the access to the justice system, and how crucial it is. Now, that understanding has led her to create something called the Lydia Gardner Self-Help Center. That's named in honor of a former Orange County clerk. And the center is the first of its kind here in Orange County, and it provides low-cost legal assistance in the areas of family law and so many other things. She is a steward of the community, and I just want to introduce her to some and just present her to others. I like saying that sometimes, Tiff. This is Tiffany Moore Russell. How are you?
I'm well. How are you? Thank you for having me today, Monica.
Thank you so much for taking a moment, because I know that if I have skates on, you've got two pair of skates on and a third pair. Listen, a couple of things we want to hit. And the first is Sunshine Week, and also about the first step programs for drivers with offenses. But I want to hit the Sunshine Week because that's going on like right now. So what benefit is that for our community, Tiff?
The benefit is to kind of educate the public on understanding their access to information. So Florida has one of the most liberal public information laws, and we're considered a sunshine state, or so it allows for people to educate the citizens on what's considered public and what's not public. So we use Sunshine Week as a way to bring attention to the fact of people have the right to this information and how to be able to access it in a legal way.
So what kinds of information, when we say that, is it going to be stuff that is criminal in background, is things that maybe their attorneys didn't share with them, or what is it? What is that?
So a great thing about Sunshine Week that we like to do as well is to educate the public on the difference between a public record and a court record.
Okay.
So for example, if you want to access the memos that Mayor Deming sends to the commissioners, that's a public record. And in Florida's Chapter 119 gives you the right to ask for all of his emails, all of his memorandums. That's public record. What the court has access to, what you mentioned, there's a criminal case. We want to see Casey Anthony's evidence from the Casey Anthony trial. That's a court record. And that's a different way you request access to those court records. So we also use Sunshine Week to educate the public on the difference, because public record is governed by Florida Statute 119, whereas the court record is governed by the Florida Supreme Court administrative orders. So we use Sunshine Week to also explain the difference between the two.
All right. So I'm going to come down there and try to get access. I need to know what it is I want, first of all. Okay. And then we just walk into the clerk's office. What's the process?
So I can tell you the great thing about technology, right? We're using this wonderful platform today to do an interview. We now have our website, which is called myeclerk.com, right? Which is an aspect of my website where you can now just go on there and research what you want to see. And you can have access to those records that are considered where you can access, any user can see those court records, right? So in Florida, we have what we call a matrix, an access governance matrix in Florida that gives certain people access based upon your status in the court system. So for example, a judge can see anything, right? In a criminal case, the state attorney can have so much level of access, whereas the general public has another level of access. So no one has to come to the courthouse anymore. Just pull up your computer, your laptop, go to myeclerk.com and search for My eClerk or search court records, and you can Google criminal cases, divorce cases, landlord tenant, and it'll pop up.
This is really good news, and I'm so glad that we have a chance to share this with the public because a lot of times people are afraid
Mhm.
to even think about asking for something because, let's just think about it, Tiffany, that the county courthouse is an intimidating
Yes.
structure. And
Yes.
to walk through there, uh, besides having to go through countless turnstiles for checking this and checking that, and you can't take this. And I remember, oh my gosh, this is off the subject, but I was going to be a witness for someone's wedding. They were getting married there, and I couldn't bring the gift up.
Hmm.
So, I mean, there's so many things, so many layers, and you just don't know. So, when you don't know, you better ask questions. And that's one thing that I think that you have done very well since you've been in office is made the county clerk's office a lot more accessible.
That's
There's
the
other
goal.
things,
Yes.
huh?
So that's the goal.
Yes, there's other things that you have done as well, and that is you've been invited to a lot of weddings yourself.
Yes, I've married some folks. I guess you can say I have a couple marriages under my belt.
Okay, and so how would we go about doing that?
So they can email the office if they want me to marry them. I've been asked to actually go out the property to someone's wedding. I've done that a couple times. Of course, you've reported in the past on my group Valentine's weddings. So they
Mhm.
can just email me, or it's clerk at myorange.clerk.com if they want to specifically request for me to marry them. And we would just make sure that it matches with my calendar that I could actually attend their wedding. So people, I don't get a whole lot of them. Most people will come to the courthouse and ask me to do it, but I've done a couple outside of the courthouse.
Tiffany, after this, I think you're going to get a lot more because people didn't realize that they could actually get you to come off premise to do that. Wow. So let me ask you this. I know that you are a member of St. Mark AME. Now, does that mean that you had to get special training for that? Or is that just a part of what your jurisdiction is as the county clerk?
It's what I am able to do as the county clerk. So now I have been sworn in and official by the state of Florida. I can perform wedding ceremony. So I didn't have to get any training. No.
Okay. So what else did that title bring you?
Well, so as the clerk, right, I am the only one in the state that who can issue your marriage license.
Okay.
And so so people have to at least I can't perform I may not perform your wedding ceremony, but I have to give you your license. The clerk is the collector of fines and fees in the state of Florida. And I can swear people in if a commissioner wins and wants me to swear them in, I have the authority to do that because we also swear in witnesses in trials. So we have the authority to swear someone in because of the authority vested in us by the Constitution. So that title automatically gives me the authority to do that.
Tiffany, when I think back to when you were elected to District 6 for Orange County Commission, I think about how young, all right, but I want to ask this, and it's a question I always wanted to know. After you graduated from college, after you went to law school, after you passed the bar, did you know your trajectory? Did you know all of the stops that you wanted to make?
Absolutely not. Um, I always tell this story why representation matters. Because growing up in Tangelo Park, right here in Central Florida, what I saw, the only elected officials I saw was Mabel Butler and Alzo Reddick. That was it. That was my representation. And so you didn't see, there was not a black clerk or a black mayor or a Hispanic property appraiser, right? Or the black sheriff at that time. That's not what you saw. So in my mind, in running for public office, I had to run for either County Commission District 6 or State House Representative seat. That's what I saw. And so for me, I thought I was supposed to be a lawyer. And then maybe I'll go be a judge because that's also what I saw on television,
Mhm,
right? Lawyers, you go
mhm,
to law school, you go to court, and then you go and be a judge. And so I will tell you, my first non-traditional legal job actually was I worked for a company called Net Communications. My boss was Julia Johnson. She formerly served on the Florida Public Service Commission. And that's the first time when I discovered the term governmental affairs or lobbying.
mhm,
I
mhm,
didn't know that if that existed and what that role entailed. And in that particular role, we advocated for telecommunications companies and utility companies on their utility rates or their telecom rates, right? Because that's the entity that sets their rates. And so that was the first time I understood there was something more you can do with your law degree other than go to court.
Hmm.
And so that's when my eyes opened to other opportunities. And so, but you could have never told me, fast forward all those years, that I would be the clerk, because it was not something that was achievable, because I didn't see it in it wasn't visible to me from what my day to day.
So, going one step further, what would you tell young women, especially young African American women who are in search of what next? They've passed the bar, and many like you, like I have a younger sister who's an attorney, and she said, going to court is not what I want. So, her trajectory has been similar to what yours was. And now she's with Politico, chief counsel for them. So, there's so many things. Let's talk about that for a moment before we get back to Operation Green Light.
Yeah. So the one I tell people all the time, although we're saturated with a lot of attorneys, there are just certain skill sets that you attain when you get a law degree that you will
Mhm.
not get any other career, that are still transferable skills, right? The ability to negotiate, the ability to interpret law or statute, the ability to write, so conflict resolution, all those skills that you use in the practice of law are transferable, right? And so I tell young lawyers today, figure out what are your gifts, what are you good at, and then figure out the
Mhm.
job that matches that skill set. And so for me, what helps me as a lawyer is it helps me read contracts, it helps me read statutes and understand legislative intent. Of course, it helps from an oral perspective, my ability to verbally communicate um, what I'm asking of you to get your influence or your vote, right? Those are the same skills you would use in a courtroom to win the favor of the jury, right? Or to
Mhm.
win your motion to a judge. So all of those are great transferable skills that you can use in other careers. You mentioned your sister she's a general counsel for Politico, whether it's governmental affairs or whether it's representing a nonprofit organization. A lot of people, I had classmates who their companies were looking for someone who had a law degree, but who was also a business major, who had a business degree. So there are so many people who still find having a law degree as an attractive asset for any candidates.
I think that this is wonderful, and the reason I wanted to share that piece is that yeah, we are saturated with attorneys, but I needed them to hear, and especially for women, that it is still a field of integrity and one where there is a lot of variation and one where you can make a good living.
I have this joke where I say, well, not a joke, but I make this comment oftentimes that there are so many lawyer jokes, but we
Yeah.
are the first person you call when you get in trouble before you even call your mama. And so everybody should have a good, smart lawyer friend in their life.
Yes, and a good, smart, and I call him this too. My best friend producer, that's Lamont. I have a best friend technology person. Just yeah, you really should. So again, Tiffany Moore Russell is the Orange County Clerk of Court, and we're talking now about Operation Greenlight, which is something that we've talked about many times. And someone mentioned before having a problem where they were in an accident and it was an extreme amount. To them, it was an extreme amount. And so instead of figuring out what to do, they just, it's almost like you freeze. You don't know what to do. So you put yourself in, you sit down and you don't do anything. But
Yeah.
Operation Green Light offers you an opportunity to make payment plans or just understand the opportunities that are there for you to get back on the road. So Operation Green Light is exactly what, Tiff?
So I'll give you some of the intent behind it first, Monica. So
Mhm.
our legislature years ago passed statute that requires clerks once a year to offer this event. We just named it Operation Green Light, and it was to reduce the number of drivers driving on suspended driver's license, right? Because we recognize that if people have to get to work, they're going to drive.
Mhm.
If people have to get to A and B in their destination, they're going to drive. And so, but when you're driving on a suspended license and you get in an accident, and that impacts insurance rates, that impacts the person who's gotten in the accident with you. So the data was showing the need and the importance of reducing the number of drivers who are driving on a suspended license. So that's kind of what birthed Operation Greenlight, was through the legislature. And so the event is meant to help people get in good standing and to also make sure to dispel this myth that you have to pay it all at one time.
Hmm.
So we want you to have some skin in the game, which you have to pay a deposit. But as long as you're making as minimal as $25, you can keep your license and still drive legally while you're making your payments towards your balance. So the Operation Greenlight was a program to draw attention to the fact of, to target those people who are avoiding, because for some reason they have this thought that they're going to get arrested because they owe court fees, which is not true,
Hmm.
right? Or they owe the clerk, so that, they're not going to the courthouse because that's like taboo. We really want people to recognize to call us any day, and we'll help you get back in good standing.
So don't be afraid to uh, get back out there. Just go ahead over to the Orange County Clerk of the Court, or really online. Do it best online, right?
And Monica, and if you're afraid to come to this 23-story building, because I get it, it's intimidating. It's everybody with a uniform and a gun is in the front of the building, and people don't want to come into this building, right? It may be a trigger for somebody out there. I mentioned earlier my website. You can go and look up your balance. You can look up your case to see what is it being flagged, what does it say, and then we now have this program called Live Agent, where you can put in an email ticket where my clerk will communicate back with you. To now you can get on a payment plan through the email communication without physically coming to the courthouse. So
Okay.
for that, to dispel that fear of coming to this building, right? That's a way to get the conversation started, to at least find out how much you owe and how to get in good standing.
So that's for the driver's license. Suppose people have outstanding child support payments and they know, all right, can they find out information about that without having to come down there?
They can. So you can still fill out a live agent ticket and ask questions about your child support. So our agents are assigned based on the case type, whatever question you ask. So child support is different. So a person who is in back child support will not benefit from this program just because there
Mhm.
are other rules governing child support. But we will still answer their questions and assist them and figure out how to get back in good standing.
All right, let me ask one more question
Mhm.
for some brothers out there that probably are saying, Monica, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. Can they go on a payment plan for those back child support?
So
Uh,
so with child support, it's a little different. And we actually have, I did access to justice. I did my legal forms. And
mhm.
so if they want to visit we have a YouTube page. So if you go to myorangeClerk.com and go to our YouTube, click to hit our YouTube page and get some of our old videos. We did a legal forum a while back on child support, where we had a judge from the child support division, lawyers from child support, kind of explaining that process. But child support, you would have to petition to get on a new revised payment plan. So that's why I say it would require you to get some help.
Mhm.
It's not something we can put you back on, because if the court has already established your child support payment plan, you have to go back to the court if you want to revise that payment plan.
And so what that does is it's going to take a fear factor out, because I got to tell you, there's a lot of people walking around, Clerk Russell, that have a lot of legal issues,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a stress factor behind that, and that increases for mental health,
Yep.
and then that increases for the possibility of you're driving,
Mm-hmm.
you owe child support, you owe this, you, and what turns out as a simple traffic stop could turn into a deadly situation.
Yes.
So, what we wanted to do is really let you know that there are ways to help you help yourself. And that's what this conversation is all about. Operation Greenlight, as well as Sunshine Week. There's ways for you. One of the things about Clerk Russell is that as an attorney, she has to have a tough exterior, but she really, once she smiles, it's there. She gives you all teeth, and that's it. Doesn't mean she's a pushover, but it does mean that you can look her square in the eye and she can determine your integrity. So she'll know if you're telling the truth or, just playing around. We wanted to have an open conversation about something that really squares a lot of people. And when I say squares, I mean you got to take it at some point. It scares them, and you got to look them square in the eye. So it squares a lot of people. Clerk Russell, the youngest county commissioner at one point in time, and now the first African American woman to serve as our Orange County Clerk of the Court. She's done many firsts in our community. And I guess the big thing now I'm going to have to lean into is the next thing on your to do list might be what?
So there are other opportunities that may be coming up in 26 that I'm exploring. Right now,
Okay,
I
good.
am seeking reelection this year, but there are some other opportunities that I will be exploring for 2026.
So how do we follow you? Because that's one thing. You almost, and because you have to, you almost have to be untouchable. But how do we follow you to understand what's going on and how we can support some of your efforts?
So you can follow me on all the social media platforms, separate even from the office. So of course, the office itself is on all social media platforms, and then Tiffany Moore Russell is on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Those are places where people can follow me to see what's going on as well. So either the Facebook page for the office or those social media platforms, as well as my personal pages.
Hmm. So again, when we talk about things like knowing your right,
Mhm.
um, the records that are open to you during Sunshine Week, it's important for you to understand that this is only for a segmented time. What is the time limit on this?
So Sunshine Week is just a week of recognition. So similar to, like Breast Cancer Month or Mental
Hmm.
Health Awareness Month, it's the week that we designated to bring attention to your rights as a citizen in Florida to have access. Right, it's called Sunshine because we live in the sunshine in the state of Florida as far as Chapter 119, which means it's open. Right, that's why you notice that the county commission can't have a meeting unless it's posted 7 days prior. Right, you can't have a behind the scenes meeting with two commissioners. That's a violation of sunshine, right? So we use that week to highlight in Florida, we have one of the most liberal public access laws in the country. I mean, that people just be aware of what their rights are as citizens, and how they have access to their government.
Hmm. When we say sunshine here, it also means, she said earlier, that if you wanted to find out what the Orange County mayor was talking about with the commissioner, that information is open as well. There's so much that we really don't know about Orange County government. When I think about that, and I think about just now opening up the documents to everyone, and I'm sure that there are other things that go on, especially through the Lydia Gardner Self Help Center. Let's talk about that too, Tiff.
So that's we were created. I created that when I first came in as clerk because I recognized two things. By law, my clerks are not allowed to give legal advice. In Florida, it's called unauthorized practice of law because they're not lawyers. They're not licensed to practice. But let's be honest, right? It's like that with any profession. The person who works for the person knows more about the job than the person, right? So my clerks have been here 30, 25 years, could probably tell you anything about this system because they've seen it, they've lived it, but they're not allowed to. So, Monica comes to the counter and has a petition for child support and it's wrong. She got the wrong petition. The clerk is like, gosh, this is wrong. But I can't
Hmm.
tell her,
Oh,
right? Right? Because it's
mm,
giving advice,
yeah.
but then to the citizen, you're like, why didn't she tell me? She knew
Mhm,
it was wrong. That's not fair. And so for me, as I came in, I witnessed this. I said two things. I want to protect my employees. So that's one. It's from a business perspective. I also want to look for efficiency so that people are not waiting long lines and all they have is questions, right?
mhm,
So Monica, she already know what she need to do, but I got to wait behind Tiffany, who got 3 kids and got 10 questions, right?
mhm,
So the self-help center was to remove those people to a safe space to be able to take as much time as they want. They can sit on we have computer monitors, we have desks. They can sit there all day and fill out their paperwork. They can ask questions. And those who know what they're doing can go back to the regular division counters and handle their business, right? So, and then the clerks, if they get questions, can say, you need to go down to the self help center because we have a partnership with the Orange County Bar Association. And for $1 a minute, you can talk to a lawyer. Now, that's pretty accessible to get an attorney for $1 a minute. And now, due to COVID, now our lawyers are on virtually as well. So you can make an appointment now on my website, which is myorangeclerk.com again. where you can schedule your appointment. You don't even have to come downtown anymore. We have Zoom appointments now with the lawyers. You can get your questions answered, and we now are allowing you to upload your documents so the lawyer has it in advance of your meeting to be able to help you answer your questions. So there's some good things that came out of COVID. We learned how technology can be helpful, but so that's we use that as a way to, and we've also, one of our greatest allies are judges now, right? Because as a judge, it is very difficult to manage a hearing where one side has an attorney, the other doesn't, and you know this other side is struggling. You know it, but you can't. You're supposed to be neutral. You're supposed to preside, right? So now we have judges who take our brochure and say, "Go see the clerk. Go to the self help center. You need to go to the self help center."
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, it makes the overall justice process um, easier to manage for all parties. Because that's ultimately what we want, right? We want to have a system that is accessible by all, so that you can help navigate whatever legal situation you are managing. So that's what we see now. We're taking more online. People can still come to the clerk's office and come to the self help center, and we actually still have the office where if they want to still physically be in our building, because we recognize not everybody has internet,
Yeah.
not everybody has a laptop or a computer at home, and a library is not the most private place to have a one-on-one call with an attorney. So if we have those people, you can still come to the courthouse and use that office to meet with your attorney if you scheduled the appointment through our self-help center. So that is another thing we've recognized to continue to give access to the public.
Let me ask you, and thank you very much for that. Let me ask you now about domestic violence.
Mhm.
How has the Self Help Center made a way to make that a little bit simpler?
So the great thing about Orange County, and I brag across the state of Florida with my other clerks, is we one thing Orange County knows how to do is collaborate. Baby, we believe in partnerships. That we do. And so I had the privilege of serving on the Orange County Domestic Violence Task Force. And prior to me becoming clerk, when Lydia Gardner was clerk, the task force recommended a lot of improvements to address domestic violence. So Harbor
Mhm.
House, which is our Central Florida agency here, actually has an office in the courthouse. So
Mhm.
the Self Help Center sends everybody to Harbor House because they have lawyers there who are funded by a grant. So they don't actually see us. We send them to Harbor House, which is on the fifth floor in the downtown Orange County Courthouse. So again, speaking of partnership and working together, they actually have a very strong presence in our courthouse. And so domestic violence victims or applicants don't have to come see us. We refer them to Harbor House in the courthouse.
So that's something that I really wanted to get out there because a lot of times people that's big time.
Yes.
That is big time. So again, so I would say through that self help center, you've created quite a bit,
Yes.
Tiffany. What
Yes.
is there more? Is there more? Are we pulling
So
more, putting
we
more in place?
we are looking for ways to enhance technology. So we are looking for ways to be more efficient, and so we try to add more tools on our website because people are busy. People, we want to make it easier for you to do business with us without physically coming to the building. So we continue to try to add more tools. For example, due to the pandemic, people needed certified documents, whether it's to go to the hospital or the funeral home. And so we now have e-certify where you can get your certification documents online. You don't have to come to the courthouse anymore. So we just try to look for more ways to be more efficient so that people can do business with us and look for more ways to be a what I call one of a government that's easy to work with. That is our ultimate goal.
Yes. That's good. That email address one more time. Someone asked that question. The email again is myclerk.myorangeclerk.com.
If they want to email me, it's clerk at
Okay.
myorangeclerk.com.
Okay. So that's clerk at myorangeclerk.com.
Yes.
Something else. Balances being too high to pay all at once. um these are things, again, we're talking about all the things that keep people riding dirty, walking dirty, living dirty, not getting a job because I got too much back stuff going on. At some point you got to let that shadow come from behind you, detach that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and let's come clean. And this is one way to do it through the Lydia Gardner Self Help Center, through the Sunshine Week. Find out what is on those some of those records that you're running from. Operation Green Light, literally, what are you running from? These are the things that Tiffany Moore Russell has done during her time there as the Orange County Clerk of the Court. There is a payment plan that you can do through the Court Compliance Division, and you're in Suite 410.
Yes.
Uh-huh. And so, what I wanted to remind people is that it's always better to ask questions ahead of time than think that you know the answers behind the time. Because 9 times out of 10, you don't. 9 times out of 10, you're making yourself a nervous wreck for no reason. You know what, Tiffany? I'm sure that in some of what you've seen in the years that you've been in this position, I'm sure you've had people come up to you and say, "Thank you, baby." I could just hear him saying it like this. "Thank you, baby. I had no idea that this was going to be just so simple. Thank you." How many times has that
Oh,
happened?
I hear it all the time, whether it's a grandmother who said, "You helped my grandson and just appreciate you bringing this to my attention so we can get him," like you said, because people walk around with false information. We know people, all it takes is somebody to say one thing and you take that for what it is, right? For fact. And it's incorrect, right? And so we've made a lot of changes. We reduced the collection fee. A lot of cases during Operation Greenlight, we pulled them back from collections, right? And allowed them to get back and get standing, and so I think we hear it from people because they're shocked, right? Like
Mhm.
that. And I want to tell you, I would prefer we had Operation Green Light in Orange County is actually daily. Let me just say that.
Okay.
So the event is something we do because by statute we have to bring attention to it. But every day we put people on payment plans. Every day we'll pull them out of collections and work with them because if someone is coming to my office willingly to say, "Hey, this is what I got. I got $200. What can they get me? And I got
Mhm.
a job. Can I pay $10 a month?" And we say, "Well, whatever it's going to take to get you back in good standing, we'll work with you." And so for us, we don't tell you to wait to next year for Operation Greenlight, right? Because we want to retrain that bad habit of waiting 51 weeks of the year until this 1 week event, right? And really want them to come see us, get figure out what it is that you owe, and don't let your balance scare you away.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
The the other thing I'm just going to insert right there. Not only do you not know, you've put undue stress on yourself, and that's the really big thing. And like I said, the offices need to work in tandem. Like if somebody gets stopped, all right, and they have some outstanding tickets, that's going to come up. They're going to text to you type your license in on the computer. That's a scary thing. That's a scary thing. Now, I don't know whether that officer, if you talk with them, would is going to let you go or if he's going to arrest you. You don't know. So why get yourself into that situation? Let's just take care of it. And one thing I did not know was that Operation Green Light is 365. It's not just the 1 week. So
so that's Tiffany Moore Russell's way of saying don't wait for an event to come get in good standing. So that's Monica and Tiffany talking straight talk,
mhm.
that we do the event Operation Green Light because statutory says we must, but every day we put people on payment plans. Every day. Don't wait. Come see us. We work with different organizations and groups. Um, this is just the week that we draw attention to it. How about that?
Mhm. Mhm. Is Sunshine Week just for that 1 week, or if we are outside the parameters of that designated week and we have some information that we got to have, if we ask
Oh,
in the right way, can we still get access to it?
so Sunshine Week is just the education week. It's
Yeah.
just the week
Okay.
for educating the public. But
Oh,
because of Florida Statute 119, every day you have access to Florida public records. So yeah.
okay. So again, Tiffany Moore Russell is our Orange County Clerk of the Court, and she's made some changes in there so that everybody has access to not only information, but everybody has access to getting a new start.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. People have not gone to college because of that. I can't do it. I can't. I got all of this back.
Yeah.
but you don't ask, you won't know. And your office has made it simpler to
And
live.
we even started working, Monica, with the jail,
Tell
right?
me about that. I don't think anybody knows about that
Well,
one.
because they have their reentry the program when they get ready to get released.
Uh-huh.
And so they do all of this work with them with dignity, get their ID, trying to, because you want to get them to be released and be able to get acclimated back to society. And so because I serve on the Public Safety Coordinating Council with all of my partners in justice, we said, we're here to help you. So if they owe money, don't leave and then you get out here and find out later. Let's sit down with them before they leave, talk about how to get them started. We can start the payment plan 6 months after they're released to give them time to find a job. Let's just not let them release them and then they find out a year or two later they still owe this money. They still can't get their license. So
Hmm.
we work with Chief Keonis and all those gentlemen over and women at the jail to be a good partner because we see what they're trying to do. They're trying to get them when they leave the jail, they have everything they need to be in good standing. And so we try to work with the jail as well to make sure if they owe anything to the courts, we've kind of set them up so they can win, right? We don't want to set them up for failure. So
Hmm. Hmm. That's a good way to segue to voting rights too, because part of what Desmond Meade fought for and won with Amendment 4 was that once you have completed your time, you've paid your court fees and fines, your rights should be restored. Well, we have a governor that has put some glitches in that, but still, don't let that stop you. Ask the question. Ask the question. Do DODUE
yeah,
diligence. Please do due diligence. Your voting rights are not something that were just given to you. Democracy is something that we had to fight for.
yeah.
And so don't let something like not knowing be the barrier for you to not go and vote. And while we're on that, we need to really, really talk more about that, Tiffany, because a lot of people are using all kinds of excuses for not going to the polls. And how would you say that we could eradicate one of those reasons just now, like what you said? You had a situation, you had some court fees, some fines. Let's put you on a plan to pay that. How do we keep track that the payment has been made? All of that good stuff.
So again, access to my website shows your balance,
Okay.
right? And we are currently looking at, always looking for new tools
Hmm.
to make it easier. We're actually looking at a new system or platform that hopefully one day we can get to a point where we text you. But Joe, that you have to agree to receive text messages from us, right? That's required. But
Hmm.
we all get text messages now. Don't forget to pay your light bill, or or you owe
Yeah.
Macy's. Maybe that's just my little problem, but you know, um,
Did you say you owe Macy's?
I get my little alert from the credit card saying your Macy's bill is due, and so trying to utilize private sector tools, which we see are working. So we're looking at some things at the clerk's office. If people want to do an automatic payments, where it automatically comes out their account, you choose, so that you don't worry about forgetting to make your payment. That way that they're constantly in good standing. So we're just trying to look for ways and tools that they can alert them. They automatically get their receipt. It gives them their balance. This is how much you have left. Or you've paid it off. Congratulations, you're done. So looking
Mm.
for all those tools to be able to communicate. We call it customer contact points to be able to communicate with our customers that they have paid their balance. So
The Orange County Clerk of the Court is not an office that we really looked at. I mean, I did know Lydia Gardner, but I don't think before you we ever really paid much attention to all that goes on and all the work that has emanated, rules, judgments,
yeah,
fees, and we never really paid attention to that. And the one thing that I love over the years, Tiffany and I have talked often, is the fact that the office has grown in terms of contact, their outreach. You've done community workshops,
mhm.
you've done with ACO, you've partnered with so many people just to do information workshops. Where can we go to find out if you'll be in our neck of the woods at some point?
So, of course, I would encourage people to follow me on social media. I mentioned our
Mhm.
platforms. That's what we tend to share a lot of our information as well as our website. Also, if you go to my website, myorangeclerk.com, again, you can sign up to receive our newsletters where we send information and updates to you. But again, follow us on all of our social media platforms. We're on Instagram as well. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Twitter. We're on all those different platforms. And that's where we will post information about events. Where I'm actually tomorrow, I'll be at the Policy Perkins Bar Association speaking to them for their women's luncheon. But we use those platforms to communicate on what's
Mhm.
happening in the office. This past Saturday, we were in Lake Nona. They had a fair out in Lake Nona. We had a booth providing information to the public. So we try to be as many places as possible.
And you do have a wonderful staff that
Yes.
spreads themselves out to do that. So again, Operation Greenlight is the Orange County Clerk of the Court's effort to get someone back in the driver's seat. Don't let past tickets stop you. Don't let some fees and fines that you thought you had um, it you could have paid them off already and just never received a receipt for it. Whatever the case may be, find out today. All right. What we talked about today is you can help customers year round. It doesn't have to be just 1 week. It's she said there's court statute that says you gotta do it, but we're bringing attention to it now.
So
If
the
you need.
event, the dates, I'm sorry for cutting you off, is
Mhm.
April the 6th through the 20th. But I give you an example. Martin Luther King weekend, we have all the parades. And I'm in a parade and someone yells, Tiffany, I need to get my license. When you gonna have that event? I'm like, well, you can't wait to April, right?
Yeah.
Come see me Monday or come see me Tuesday because we were closed on Monday, right? So
Mhm.
that's what we say. Don't wait to an event. Come down. Don't wait.
And don't wait till you see her in the street
Yeah.
too. What are some of the things that people have asked you to do for them, Tiffany?
Oh, the number one is getting my jury duty. That's the number one
Are you
request.
serious?
Yes, yes.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
And what would you say the reason for being on jury duty should be?
Well,
Why
I,
should we?
I said it earlier. Representation matters, and we don't pay attention to juries until it's a very controversial trial. And we say, well, who was on the jury? And I think of Trayvon Martin case with the man who, his trial, the man that killed him, or how did the police officers get off, or who was on that jury? Well, I mean, you just never know if your number get called that you could be on that jury. That makes a difference. And remember now, the law says that the jury must reflect the peers of the person being prosecuted, right? And so diversity matters. Diversity in experience, thought, background, all that helps round out a jury pool. And so
Mhm.
I tell people, I know it's an inconvenience. I know you got work, you got responsibility, you got the kids. I get it, but that's just as important as voting. Your constitutional right is the right to serve on a jury and to vote. And I think people should not look at it as something that's annoying. Again, because it's not until we're watching this case that's so important that we say, well, who was on the jury?
Mhm.
And then we
Mhm.
want to criticize the members of the jury. We want to get all into their background, dig into who they know and who they are. Well, because you said you declined, right? You said, no, I don't want to be on the jury. I don't want to serve. And I get it. They only pay a lot of money, $15 a day. You're not going to make, but you're not meant to make money, right? But so I tell people I want to make sure that you have a diverse jury pool to make a fair decision because it could impact whether this person does life in prison or they don't.
Mhm. They get away with it. Well, one thing I think that you have done with the office, and you were inclined to do it, that's what you came in there to do, was to make change
Mhm.
and to make it more accessible. So we appreciate you for that. Again, we're going to wrap. The clerk of the court is Tiffany Moore Russell. You can always reach out to her. Like she said, she could be in a parade and you'll shoot out a question and she'll respond. But the biggest thing is you can come down to the Lydia Gardner Self Help Center, and the platforms are at myorangeclerk, all right, .com. All
Yes.
right. So anything else you want to leave on the table before we exit out of
No, I
here?
think we covered everything.
I think so. I think so. Thank you for giving me your time today. We appreciate you, Clerk Russell.
Thank you so much for having me today, Monica.
And thank you once again. Don't forget to join us on Facebook Live. You can share the information from there on our YouTube channel. And again, I am so happy to say we are on Spotify. So tell a friend about Monica May's One Take Live.